Welcome to the Oddfrog Chop Shop, your one-stop podcast for all things toy, design, collectible, comic book, video game, movies, pop culture, and more. And now please welcome your hosts, Kelly Greenwood and Eddie Hermosillo.
Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining us for episode 4 of the Oddfrog Chop Shop. By now you might know us already. I'm Eddie. That over there is Kelly. And yeah, today's episode, I think we might have mentioned it. We're going to try to focus on comics. All aspects about comics, drawing comics, favorite comics. We're just going to talk about comics, hang out, and just kind of chop it up about comics. Kelly's the big illustrator in the team, part of the company. That's his passion. That's what he loves doing. We're going to look at some of his artwork, some of the stuff he's illustrated, some of the stuff he's working with Sundown. We might even bring up some of his own Oddfrog stuff that he's on our website. Oddfrog is the character, his pet character he has. And yeah, just a quick update on the Bandito 2.0. We have secured several $1,000s in funding, and we've talked to our manufacturer. He's willing to work with us. We're going to be going into prototype real soon, actually. I say we can probably even have it within the next month and a half in its own custom box. It's going to look pristine. It's going to look clean. We should be getting the production schedule here pretty soon from him, and an update on the new model, the new body, with the updated details that we've considered, and of course the lights. Don't forget the lights, guys. The perceived value of that alone is, we're doing it. We're making these cars Mezco worthy. We're making them, worthy of being up on the shelf, something like we have back there. We just want to make them look nice, clean pieces for inbox collectors. That's why we made this custom packaging, or if you want to be outbox, whatever you prefer, toy photography, whatever you want it for. That's what we're gonna do. And I'll let Kelly say some words, and then we'll jump right into some of his work and go from there. We'll just kind of wing it.
Yeah, guys, awesome. So yeah, we're super excited about the car. Eddie's been working deals, working his butt off to get funding for the prototype. So we're hoping to have that real soon. And yeah, let's dive into the comic. I'm really excited to show this to you guys. I've been working on this with my collaborator, George. He is the, CEO of Sundown Media Group. He also is one of the founders of the band Sundown, which we have been using a lot of their music for our little promos. And just a really great guy, really great storyteller. And I would say him and I have kind of a Stan Lee, Jack Kirby writing relationship. There's no real script involved. He's just had this huge plot in his head for, I guess, several years. And, so we'll just get on the phone and kind of bounce ideas back and forth. He's telling me the story, and I'm kind of visualizing how I'm going to put that down on the page in like a sequential art format or visual storytelling, if you will. So, without further ado, I'll have Eddie open up some images, and we'll just kind of bounce back and forth talking about it.
Poof, just like that, we're all on one screen. Yeah, sorry guys, we had some technical difficulties, but just to keep continuing along here. So yeah, my process, especially with this, I try to keep it loose. I'm really trying to tell George's story and keep the action and the pacing moving along smoothly. And sometimes that takes extreme angles. So I don't know if this is big enough for you guys to see, but she's pulling a gun out of her boot. And as you see here, one of the guys that was leaning over which is in a previous scene, she pulls out the gun and blows the back of his head off at this rather kind of extreme angle here, which can be really challenging. I mean, you can't really map that out with perspective. I mean, I'm sure you could, but it would take way longer than you have to get the picture done. And I always like the gore and the violence and the action from my death metal days. So it's, I always like to include I just think like dudes like blood and guts in general, and, kind of gross out factor. So I always like showing the violence where and when I can.
When appropriate.
This is our hero, Kate. She's kind of the secondary protagonist in this story next to Doc Holyday. But she's more of the action gunslinger chick. And this outfit that she's got on is somewhat of a disguise or a temporary kind of thing. There's a little backstory to it that I don't want to get into too much, but she's actually very tactical. She's good with all sorts of weapons and machinery. And you guys will see that in upcoming stories that George has to tell. When I'm laying out these pages, I'm trying to take George's story and visually play through it in my mind for a certain period of time. So if there's a scene where it's in the town or she's coming into town, I'm trying to think in my mind 3 or 4 pages ahead and then focusing on the one page I'm on and like what best serves what I'm trying to tell here. If there's a lot of people or a lot of action, a lot of times I'll want to do a wide shot. You know, if I need to show emptiness and stuff, something like this, I'll silhouette the characters and just show a big open barn. But I'm always trying to push in as much detail as I can. Just like Eddie, I'm very detail oriented. So I'm just always trying to, you know, if I think I'm done, I really look at it again and see where I can add in, you know, like what if I zoomed in on this, what would I see kind of stuff, you know? And of course, playing with positive and negative space with lighting. Here in the bottom panel, there's a dynamite wick on fire. So I wanted to keep the background dark to have their faces more uplit and illuminated. Yep. And it's a really fun process. It takes a long time. I'd say each page takes me anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, depending on. Oh, you want to go to that splash page, Eddie, that everybody likes? The one with the donkey and the girl. You just a little farther. There you go.
Wait, this?
Yeah. So this one here, it's almost like a dream sequence in the sense that there's a conversation going on between Kate and Cervantes, who is the donkey, and they're both basically kind of trying to describe how they came to be at this moment in time and, you know, involved with this ominous character, Doc Holyday. So Doc Holyday is not necessarily in the scene, but I wanted to represent him in kind of a shadowy way so that you could see that they were thinking and talking about him. And then I have these little cutaway panels that kind of build up some of the story of what Cervantes, the donkey, is saying to her and, you know, kind of telling the story of how him and Doc came to be in the town of Sundown.
It's like the Fibonacci sequence, and if you just see it, it just comes around.
Yeah, the golden mean. I do think about that stuff probably quite a bit, actually, as far as layout and design. The cover, you guys will see at some point, and I've even posted it on Instagram. I'm sure if you scroll through our stuff, you can see the cover. But I use that kind of thinking in that, you know, a lot of the Renaissance kind of Age of Enlightenment kind of layout stuff is really fun to mess with. And, you know, it's natural to the eye, so people take right to it.
Did I show that already?
Which one's that?
21, 22, 23.
Oh, show 21. Okay. Okay, this is 21. 20 is okay, show 20. I'm sorry, Eddie. This is leading up to this is kind of a pretty cool scene. I love to do the splash pages, but you got to find cool spots to put them in. You can't just have every page be a splash page because you can't really tell a story that way. But everywhere I want to kind of it's a big explosion. Yeah. Everywhere I want to kind of make a statement, I'll try to do something like a splash page to give that impact. Here we see the dynamite went off, taking out the bad guys that were looking for Kate. And again, another thing, I'm always trying to constantly think about where my light source is coming from. You know, in this case, it's the heart of the explosion. So everything on the backside of the fireball is going to be lit. But I also try to really think about the town in my mind and who's coming in from what angle of a town. I mean, it's basically a one street town. So if I have a scene where I'm switching between two characters that are facing each other, I really have to remember where that sun is setting because I can't have the shadow coming from two different places, so to speak. they all have to represent where the sun is in the world of the book, or the lighting.
Stay constant too.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if you're indoors, is it coming from the center of the room? Stuff like that. So something I really try to pay attention to, because I don't know, in some modern comics, I feel like a lot of the panels are flat in the back and they have some cool character drawings, but there's just like a blue background. And I always loved like Todd McFarlane, Greg Capullo. I love being able to see far into the background. And, so that was important to me anytime I try to tell a story, is to be able to look into the canvas or look into the panel as far as I can. If there's something that's appealing to the eye about that.
Yeah, man.
And maybe we'll just show Doc's face, the big reveal here, if you will. This is at the very end of the book. We've been looking for this character the whole time, leading up to him, leading hints to him. He's a very enigmatic character. And, he's kind of, he's suffering from this addiction of this magical potion. He's kind of a wretched being at this point. You get the vibe through the story that he was once a much more intimidating person to be around, and he's kind of just withered away to this wretched kind of urchin of a being and stuff. But that drawing I'm really proud of. That's the big last page in the reveal. And again, I just like going back to the detail when it comes to some of the hatching and stuff. This is my first comic book, so it's a lot of like trial and error. And when I find something that works, I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of catalog that in my mind, and I know that works for this particular beard. I asked myself a lot of times, like, what would Greg Capullo do as I went through this process, just thinking back to like some of the cooler, more elaborate, detailed Spawn comics, like all that detail, like how did he do that? And how was his head all charred like a hamburger? And I would think like of that texturing techniques he would use and stuff like that. But yeah, it's super fun. We're going to have George on here in a minute. We're going to interview him and his band member and business partner, Jake. And, I know him and Eddie have been working on an actual 1/12 scale Doc Holliday action figure that we're designing that we want to release through the Chop Shop, where we start to bring in more of a Western element to some of these cool characters. I feel like Oddfrog and the Chop Shop have a real opportunity here to do characters that it's not like they haven't been done before, but in the photos that we see of your guys, we see a lot of superheroes, a lot of anime, and stuff like that, which are all amazing. But we'd love, I'm a big Western fan. I love all that old stuff, Clint Eastwood, Good, Bad, and the Ugly. And, Eddie and I would be really excited to like bring a different flavor to some of the photographs you guys take, and maybe do some Western dioramas as opposed to, some of the stuff we've seen out there. But I'll let you talk about the 3D process of designing some of our characters and stuff, Eddie.
The 3D process, that's kind of my thing. That's what I enjoy doing. I don't know, ever since I started sculpting, even traditionally by hand, I was able to translate drawings quite well into 3D with my hands, and learning ZBrush and all that, definitely improved my abilities to create stuff and have stuff made faster and more efficient and more consistently. So yeah, I've been working on a few things. I think you probably saw it shared on Instagram. It was more of a rough sketch that I was working on, but it was like a Doc Holiday sketch. I have ZBrush open right now, and I've been working on one, but it's like you have to start taking more into
your screen shared?
Not right now, but okay. I'm gonna share it in a second. But you have to start considering more about the solid shapes and how it act, because when you can quickly sculpt something and it's not going to be printable, you're going to make it, it's going to be holes here and there, and it's exactly just like a sketch. They call them sketches all the time. And then you can also, and then after that sketch, you then go in and try to create a more solid printable with minimal defects. You start adding your details, your subdivision levels, you want it's nice, clean, subdivided levels. You want clean squares. You want to try to avoid triangles. These are all terms that you would eventually end up learning. But you don't want that many Let me see if it's sharing now. I think we're sharing this. Yeah, see, so, oh, no. Okay. My ZBrush. Okay, hold on. Is it open now? Yeah, okay. We'll do that again. So yeah, this is, I start with like basic shapes, and you start constructing a head and a face. You come in here and you create the shapes to be solid, and you extract shapes. But like my other one, this part of the beard wasn't solid on the other one, and it's just little things that you take into consideration when you're really trying to print something and make it solid. So this is the base, for Doc Holy Day. If I can, yeah, I love this program so much because you can do so much with it. Like the way I go about it is, let me show you real quick. So I'll go here. Let me actually get. Oh, there it's already on. It's already loaded. So you can load images on here and literally use them as references. And like I said, it looks kind of complicated, but once you understand where everything is, and it's not like that big a deal.
Eddie, wouldn't you say that like people that have experience playing PC games and stuff?
Yeah, see, that's my whole thing about it. When I start sculpting, that's what I kind of said. That's what I tend to get lost in it. Like if I'm playing a video game, it's exactly, at least for me, I can get. I don't know. To me, I see this as playing a video game. I can get lost in it for hours and just sculpt away. Like the same way people get zoned out when they're shooting people running around Fortnite or this, and that in their GTAs. Like, it's all fun and games, but my fun and games are leading to profit. That's what I'm trying. You can make profit by streaming, I guess, but hey,
leveling up.
Yeah, level up. Yeah, but I mean, this is what we do.
But I mean, even as far as moving around in the program.
Oh yeah,
it's a lot like the XYZ kind of access of any World of Warcraft or something. Rhino, I know, is very much like you zoom in,
you have
run
to use
around.
and you type. And with Rhino, it's like a different interface. Every program has its own interface, its own learning curve. It takes time. Rhino is cool too. I like it. But you're working with a whole different set of rules. You're working with lines and extracting lines, and here you're working with shapes and sculpting shapes instead of pulling lines.
Much more organic.
Exactly. That's the main difference between the two programs, Rhino and ZBrush, which is what we use, what they taught us to use at Otis, and they're quite relevant in the industry, and that's what they use a lot of CAD drawings, like computer or automated drafting programs. I think that's what the acronym is for. But yeah, so yeah, this is my process. I go in there and I just start, hacking away at it, sculpting, adding details. That sphere there, it's gonna eventually be the hair, So you start pulling it and moving it, and yeah, so it gets fun when you know what you're doing, and say you can expand shapes and pull them and start sculpting. And there's various brushes that make your workflow a lot easier. Brushes like Photoshop or any other program. Brushes are what you use to manipulate surfaces or draw or this. And there's infinite. I could give, like Kelly said, a whole lecture on this and just keep on going for it. But yeah, it's cool, man. We love it. I don't know, I love it, and we're making these figures. We have prototypes. We're working on the Dog Holiday ones, Sundown ones. We have working on Jones Bones, our play on James Bond's, and he's his car's in the shop already. So that's the main thing. We're excited about the car being funded. We're going in a prototype, and yeah,
scary and exciting
at the same time. No, that's what I tell Kelly. It's the exact same feeling. You just gotta, are you either nervous or you're excited?
Gotta be excited.
Let's just be
gotta
excited.
Make it happen.
We're positive about everything. It's all falling together. That was our whole intention from the beginning, to make this happen. That's what we made the podcast, to come out here and be as transparent with you guys, and just work with you guys and produce stuff that you guys want. Really listen to our audience, to our public. Companies do that, but then they start kind of doing what they want to do, and they push out their own IP. Of course, we're going to start with our IP as well, but we're open to suggestions, ideas, things you guys want to see, things you want to be improved. I mean, our car is going to be next level. Like I can't like we're trying to make accessories, add-ons, new rims, buy a spoiler for it. We're talking with the we're trying to figure it all out to make it that quality and to make it that top notch product that it's worth every buck that it's going to cost.
It takes a lot of communication between us and our manufacturer to narrow it down and really get the product that we want to get to you guys. I mean, we see your photos and your videos, and they're high end. And, you know, with no communication, it's really hard to get a product that reflects the hard work and the passion that we've all put into it. So we really appreciate you guys who have come on board, who are maybe, you know, with the last garage and didn't have such a good experience. We understand the trepidation of trying to come on board with us. Yeah,
it was rough for everybody.
It was really rough. It, you know, it knocked the wind out of our sails a little bit, but the only thing we can do is pick up the ball, dust ourselves off, and keep pushing forward. So we are going to bring you this car if it's the last product, first and last product we ever make.
Oh, it won't be the last.
It won't be the last.
You that because we're going to start showing more of what we have next. We have the van coming. It's you know, the car we're calling it the Bandido 2.0 for obvious reasons. The next one would be the Bad Van Deluxe DLX. It's going to be pretty
and it is
sweet. Deluxe. And you know what? We're starting to work on a third one, but you know, like I said, we want to be involved with you guys every step of the way. So shoot us some suggestions. What would you guys like to see? What, like, you know, realistically, a next vehicle we have I mean, in my opinion, it's a pretty badass van and a muscle car. What would be a next cool product? We're thinking about since we are going Western, like a locomotion, a cool or Western looking train with, you know, some box cars, some coal cars, or something. I don't know. Pickup trucks, some nice trucks that look. Imagine a Western style pickup truck. It's just kind of like. You guys will see later when you talk to George the ideas he has, and we're trying. There's post-apocalyptic vibes everywhere and spikes and all kinds of stuff. So magic. So be on the lookout for everything. And like I said, shoot us ideas. We appreciate the support. We appreciate the comments. And we're just here doing our thing, trying to enrich the community in whatever way we can.
And guys, stay tuned till the end of the video. Our producer, Mike, has got a little promotional video. We're going to start a new thing where we're hoping some of the community can send in pictures of their collections if they want to share their collection on the podcast. You know, we're getting over 100 views per podcast, which is bigger than we expected to start.
All within about a week, too.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's not, I mean, it's not incredible numbers, but for a YouTube channel that just started like a month ago, like to have 100 views per videos,
we like it.
It's respectable. That's all I got to say about that.
But yeah, if you'd like to show off your collection or if you have a specific thing or something coming up,
want to be a guest on the
emails.
Podcast, even then.
Yeah, even then. You know, we really want to expand this platform. I think I called it a platform in the last Instagram thing, but we'll get better at this as we go. But yeah, guys, send us images if you want. We'd love to have a show and tell kind of section. We can always invite people onto the podcast through email if you have a camera and stuff like that. So stay tuned till the end to catch that little promotional. And I think without further ado, we'll go ahead and introduce George and Jake and Sundown.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
So our guest today is my good friend, George, who I met when I was in a band called Croatoan. We were both in kind of the metal scene. And George is a fellow musician, fellow writer, fellow creative. And George and I have been working on this project for a while. But George, first, before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about Sundown, the band, and what that's about?
We've been going for about the past 3 or 4 years now, and we've been focused primarily recording because of the whole pandemic. So we have just a days worth of material that is currently unreleased, but we're going to be kind of putting some stuff out there over the next year or so that is going to be one part of movie soundtracks, several EPs, and then the Doc Holliday trilogy, which is our kind of magnum opus box set that we're going to be doing. I'm here in the studio today with Jake, our guitarist, and he's a fucking audio engineer, sitar player. What, like, if it has strings,
I'll play it.
Jake will make it sing. And also, he runs his own repair company too, Roadie Repairs, with a buddy of ours, Steven, as well. And basically, what are the benefits of Sundown Studios is we have a built-in guitar tech and engineer, and we got a built-in drum tech and drummer. So like everybody here is really focused on their craft and the art form. So we have the ability to like kind of bring all these different genres and kind of like elements of the kind of mechanical aspects of things, like the machining, the engineering, and then as well as like the guitar stuff with everything you guys are doing with Roadie. Like you just did what was it you guys did, the Abasi?
Yeah, we've had a couple clients that have Abasi guitars. I'm sure all of our guitar player listeners will know the Lorettas and like the really cool Tosin Abasi lines. But yeah, just kind of as George is saying, like everyone that's part of the studio, like we're all musicians. We're all kind of musicians that have multiple different arms and multiple different crafts. So it could be a one-stop shop for a lot of people who want to come track here or want to come mix here and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Fascinating. That's awesome. Which I know over here at the Chop Shop, we're going to want to take advantage of that stuff because we've got little short film ideas we want to do and voiceover stuff. So could you guys talk a little bit about the concept of Sundown? Because I know that ties into our comic book, which ties into our toys and stuff like that. But I know you guys are doing something really different, which is a spaghetti Western style death metal band, which I've always thought like was a really cool idea. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, where did the concept for your band come from?
A lot of, I think, the Hollywood movies and spaghetti westerns, like you're saying, like all those kind of great Ennio Morricone movies that had those really great kind of soundtracks and stuff, but they'd also incorporate like surf guitar and like just some really out there like kind of like instruments that haven't really been used the same way since. I was checking out this old synthesizer that Ennio Morricone had built to do some of his later soundtracks, and it's just like it's beautiful. It looks like something that you'd imagine being in like Warner Brothers Studios, like for the Looney Tunes soundtracks. And so just like trying to like incorporate all those kind of soundtrack elements into the band has been something we've been kind of working on, like pretty much with everything we've done. Mm-hmm. We've like tried to bring in different influences from different genres of like kind of film.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so would you say that the lyrics tie heavily into the story of Doc Holliday? How does the book tie into the band?
The lyrics definitely have a lot to do with the Doc Holliday universe, almost exclusively, but we do kind of try to bring in a few other kind of like pop cultural references, homages to other stories, and I would say it all takes place in the same universe, like a much bigger, expanded universe. Like, for example, the music video we're doing for Doc Holliday Volume 1, The Sabbath of the Solstice, it's going to be totally different than the comic book. So the comic book is like one part of the story that follows the linear path of Doc Holliday from like the nexus of his journey to the terminus. But the music videos and what the band's doing can be different as well. So we're going to be pulling in like some stories from the Sundown kind of extended universe, but maybe Doc Holliday's in the music videos, or maybe it's just a story from the universe of Sundown. Like, I think something we were talking about like this week is we're starting issue number 2 of the comic book, which is based on our second album, The Day of Reckoning, which we just released this summer. We're releasing 3 albums this year, and then we're kind of gathering them all together. Yeah, boom. There we go. Yeah.
There we go. Let's get some visuals up.
Now.
This is it. This one we dropped I think like month before June, but there was some issues with the release. You know, we were releasing via DistroKid, and then we had put it on YouTube. But the issue there kind of was when we released it, it took YouTube like way longer to clear the material. They were like checking it or something. So the release date was off, but like considerably. So that's something we're going to keep in mind going forward. This is the third album cover that we're going to be doing, and it's the End of Days. So this is the track.
End of Days.
This is the track we just recorded in studio this summer, and this is going to be our biggest story in the comic book so far, and also each of these to kind of follow the Man with No Name trilogy. Each one of these is going to be a trilogy. So right now we're doing the Good Guy arc. We're doing Doc Holliday, the Sabbath of the Solstice, Volume 2, Day of Reckoning, and Volume 3, End of Days. At that, yeah.
So let me ask you about that a little bit real quick, George. So the trilogy is kind of like the albums. Each album is going to be like kind of like a movie, I guess, when you're saying like trilogy wise. So there's album 1, album 2,
Like
and album 3.
Each one of the volumes, or listen to one of the songs, or watch the music video. Totally independent. Like that story is like totally like a closed circle at the end of it. But there is this longer narrative, and you get more out of it. But like, I want to be able to bring in new people at every stage of the process. So it's like a little bit more modular. We're going to do like more cold open kind of things. And then we just, you know, the audience, you know, they're intelligent people, just roll with it. You know, I mean, like, oh, they're cowboys, they got guns, and like, but everything you kind of need will be in that episode. Like there's like all the meat and bones and like sinew and stuff to just be able to work with just that one piece, whatever medium it's in, be it like audio, visual, or print medium.
Yeah.
And so what are we looking at here? This is the third one?
This right here is, no. This is actually the first, this is going to be what you see when you open the box set. This is going to be one of the vinyl covers. And it basically what it is it's our grimoire, or like our bestiary. You know, so we have a main character. For this one, it's Kate. Next one's going to be Doc. And then we're still figuring out which character we're going to land on for number 3. But each time we're going to include 2 new demons that can be summoned from the Ars Arcana. So like the whole box set's going to have this kind of like theme, you know, because we're going to have to charge like, you know, a reasonable amount of money to produce like, you know, essentially a massive art book with like 3 vinyl records and a comic book in it. But when we have the finished box set, it should be like this, you know, kind of massive tome, and each thing should have a different like kind of style of art. And then when you finally get to the comic book, ideally you'd be reading the comic while listening to one of the vinyl records. Like, so they kind of correspond, right, like the music, like the tone of the music with the episode, but the story that takes place in the album could be different than the story that takes place in the comic book or the music video. So it's like very, very kind of like as many ways we can to diversify the portfolio and like how we utilize these characters in different places, like to kind of feed the narrative through different mediums. So like one of the elements we're going to be going into in volume 2 is the music video follows a character who we never see or never interact with in the comics, except he's a corpse on the ground. And then the environmental storytelling in issue 2 would correspond with the story that we're going to tell in the music video for the second volume. So it's like, you know, you get a little bit here, you get a little bit over here, and you get to connect those dots if you're like a big fan and you're following it in all these different ways. This is our protagonist, Kate, as she's entering the saloon where she's going to look for Doc Holliday, but instead she finds that she's some bad guys already beat her to it, essentially.
If I may add something too, along with the lines that George is saying, another cool aspect of it, kind of like how he's explaining how the narrative kind of intertwines itself with each other. In the music, there's also lots of themes, like musical themes that we bring back and forth between the docs. So there's themes in Doc 1 that in Doc 2 and 3 we kind of like hint at, whether it's like in a solo or in like a background part, or maybe the bass line like references it. So you could, you know, it's kind of, as George is explaining, like, it's not necessarily like, oh, this is story 1, this is story 2, this is story 3. It's all kind of like combined into like an amalgamous universe of like that.
Almost like you can kind of recognize characters in the music that you could in the comic.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
What you're saying, Jake. Like those subtle little musical cues is like, oh, there's that character
exactly.
again.
Like in the songwriting process, like we will literally like speak of these themes as like, oh, this is Doc's theme. Oh, this is like this person's theme. This is this person's theme. Like we don't have any written scores, although that would be probably, you know, something we could eventually do. But we don't write our music by like formulaically like structuring it with like notes. Of course, like all that content is there, but we drive the whole entire compositional process through like this universe of Doc.
It's like a vibe thing. Everything's got the Doc filter on it. You know, like this image right here, this is probably my favorite image from the comic because, you know, there's so much environmental, like I'm a big fan of iceberg storytelling, environmental storytelling, Easter eggs, and breadcrumbs. Like, you know, right here, oh, wait, if I point to it, you can't see it. We actually have kind of hidden Doc into the image of the bar. You can tell it's him because he's not wearing any shoes.
Yeah, it's kind of like Where's Waldo?
Yeah.
So, like, remember Where's Waldo?
And you can tell because he's face down at the bar.
He's already got a load on, you know, and then the whole room's kind of looking at her when she busts down the door, and they're like, "Oh, you know, who the hell is this?" You know, like we're kind of just like sitting out camping here, but we don't really get to see Doc until the very end, you know, and he's going to be a character that is not going to live up to expectations in a lot of ways.
I just want to point out real quick in this drawing, one of my favorite paintings is I can't remember the name of it, but it's a Manet, and it's a bar scene of this girl looking at the camera. But the camera looking at the girl sees a big mirror behind her that has all the bar patrons in it. It's a really cool, but I did a quick illustration of that painting in the background there for anybody that gets the comic and looks up close. It's kind of my homage to Manet. It's a bar inside a bar inside a bar inside a bar.
So. Like Claude Monet?
Yes.
No, Louis Manet.
M-A-N-E-T.
I think it's Louis.
Painting.
There's so much storytelling.
And I think it's called Bar Girl, Jake, or Girl in a Bar, or something like that.
Is it this? Is this it? I don't know. This is quite.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's like a big mirror in the back. Yeah. Yep, that's it. I know everybody thinks Claude Monet, and I love Monet, but I love Manet probably even more. So yeah.
This is where we kind of get our first like hint at like an adversarial presence in the comic, and this is like a two-headed dog. Now there's a funny story about the two-headed dog was originally supposed to be controlling this character, Willie the Kid, but we in the original version of the script we were going to kill off Willie the Kid and never use the character again. But as like things kind of evolved, we wound up going with this character Kelly had called Sheriff Longarm, and he's like kind of not being controlled by the dog, but he's getting paid off by this dog. You know what I mean? Like, talking dog gives you money. You're not asking questions. You take the fucking money. So he's got some skin in the game with this whole situation. And
I'd say here's probably the first moment where you find out it's not your typical Western too. It's like a two-headed talking dog. What?
Yes. It's like steampunk Western.
Jake, I've even called it like magical Western or something.
We'll just have a blank and people can fill in what they want.
Yeah.
Just like the music, absolutely.
I think the character we were going to kill off here actually is going to... I'm glad we didn't kill the character off, because we're doing something totally different with them. It was supposed to be this Willie the Kid kind of character, and originally it was going to be like a Willy Wonka meets the Joker, and he was going to have like a top hat and be like, I'll be the gentleman who will be killing you today. So instead we're like, no. Willie the Kid, we're actually taking in a really interesting direction, and we're going to be doing a spin-off series in the future with that character, and we're going to
listen up, 112 guys, because this is where it ties into our toys.
So this
Go ahead,
is like
George,
one of the things that we've been kind of talking about doing is we gotta create a dock line of toys. We got to have opposable kid action figures. We got to have like a drunken dock that can you can. Like
throw a bottle,
spring-loaded arm. Yeah, like throw a bottle at somebody,
feature toys.
And what Willie the Kid and that whole spin-off is going to be about is Willie the Kid is essentially this character who he's really young. He's got like Asperger's or some sort of kind of developmental thing that's like hard for him, but he's also like incredibly intelligent, and so he starts designing these like vehicles and stuff that like these dune buggies and these like Mad Max style creations that can like hot air balloons, trains, the whole like kind of thing that made the West like so crazy is like you had trains, you had cars, all this stuff kind of getting built like on the frontier. And then what we're going to do is that character is going to kind of be like the mascot for this whole like spin-off series that's going to be a kind of more anime version of the Doc Holliday universe. And it's also going to have more kind of Mad Max style action. Whereas the main comic can follow Doc Holliday and it doesn't get like too far from base, like the story's Doc Holliday follows Doc Holliday. This is something where we get to kind of explore the desert that Doc Holliday's in the like Sundown kind of expanded universe without worrying about having to mobilize our main character and take them, on too many adventures that might not fit for the rest of the story.
Right,
exactly.
Dilute the character and stuff. You touched on something interesting that I want our 112 scale listeners to really get a feel for. So Willie the Kid is kind of he's kind of your Da Vinci in a way. He's the guy that makes all the contraptions. And could you talk a little bit about how that ties into the 112th Street Chop Shop?
We're going to be doing a line of action figures in the Doc Holliday universe, and then also Willie the Kid. You know, he's going to be designing all types of like dune buggies and like bizarre cars and stuff. So I like, you know, I have kids, so I go shopping and I see all the toys and stuff. I see like Jurassic Park.
Eddie and I are kids, so
I see like Jurassic Park. I see like Toy Story. I see all this stuff, and honestly, like something like Mad Max, I think doesn't really have a place. But like Fallout vibes, you know, but for toys, you know, like I want to see like some dude in a hockey mask with like giant like helium tanks on his back, like attacking somebody with like a spear with like a chainsaw on the end of it, you know, like that.
With a real engine in it.
Yeah, like
they put a fucking Corvette L7 in a smart car or something like that.
That's awesome.
Like
a Baja out Prius.
Yeah, exactly.
This character is going to be designing like robots and mech suits, so like we got to have like all this crazy stuff in this universe. But also, like, Doc Holliday is, like, a kind of more reflective, kind of more retiring kind of presence. So that's like, where we get to kind of, like, figure out what goes best. Like, Doc Holliday, the story's dark, it's sinister, you know, it follows these weird, like, you know, well, this is perfect, you know. Yeah. You know, Doc's, you know, he's kind of like a... He's like a troubled character, and he's like a flawed protagonist. So we have like Kate, who's, you know, kind of like our proxy or kind of like our foil. She's like the Watson to his Holmes, you know, and Cervantes is kind of there, the donkey, the talking donkey. He's kind of there as like a mediator between.
Talks, bro.
Most of the animals talk. Some of them are just, you know.
They're not.
Clue number 2 is
The
not your typical Western. Yeah.
Take the reins, bro.
He might be the smartest one out of the three on the page right there.
It's really true. Like he's going to be. I don't want to give too much away about the plot, but you know, Cervantes is kind of like he's a very important character, but you know he could be easily overlooked, you know, in this whole thing because he's not going to be kicking ass and taking names the same way as everyone else.
Well. And George, his name is interesting. Why don't we talk a little bit about why we named him Cervantes?
You know, Don Quixote is like a huge influence here. We've got another character called Dr. Lothario who's going to be coming in this next kind of arc we're doing, the Plague Doctor, and so that one's going to be a lot of fun to do. Because then we're going to start to get into, like, the moral kind of, like, I guess, dilemma in the series in number 4. And that's where we start to ask all these kind of, like, questions about the characters, their motives, and all this stuff. Like, up until, like, the first 3 issues are all going to be just world building. You know what I mean? Like, giving enough backstory to kind of propel the characters into this universe. And then the next arc is going to be, we're going to go really hard. And like this scene right here, this is the second to last page of the comic. That's the first time up at the top we see Doc, and he's kind of just like woken up from his slumber. And then Kate comes in and, you know, she's kicking ass and taking names. And the next panel is my favorite in the entire comic, is like when we finally get to see Doc for the first time. Yeah, the big Doc reveal. Yeah. And just, you know, it's such a fun way to like start a comic, as you don't introduce the main character till the last panel, you know? So it's like, fuck it, like, boom. And then we actually are working on the epilogue right now, and then that's going to give a little more context for where things are going, as opposed to, like, because we just introduced all these characters, we covered all this ground. Now we want to kind of like set up where things are moving. These gears are kind of going now, and issue 2 is going to pick up right where issue 1 left off. And we're going to actually get some more, because we had a lot of story to tell in a very short period of time and space. So we're going to go more into detail with these characters and their motivations in issue 2 and 3, and then introduce some new characters and, just kind of really introduce like all the stuff we're going to be seeing going forward. Like, we're trying to cram as much into like these panels as possible right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's it'll be interesting as we get a little farther down the road. I know when you and Eddie can start working together on the characters and
Those
stuff.
designs
Eddie's already
look
started
great.
to get
Yeah.
some preliminary 3D designs of Doc Holy Day, which look great. And then, I think what we want to do is like everybody on our end of things, George, is looking forward to this vehicle. It's been quite an epic tale of its own, just trying to get this car to market. So a lot of the people that listen to this podcast are obviously like 112 people, and they're interested in the vehicle.
Issue 3, that's where
we're
going to be starting issue 2 this week, and then like two months from now, we're going to be starting on issue 3. That's where we're going to really get to see, the vehicle in the comic too. And like, we should fuck with that. We should come up with some visualizers and like put those on like the background for some of our upcoming releases too. Like, so you have just like this car, like kind of with the wheels spinning, going through the desert, and like just some parallax scrolling, like a GIF. We should create like some GIFs and just like to hype the stuff.
Well, and Eddie, why don't you talk about this for a minute? Because George had a great idea. What would this look like to take our Bandito? And my first thought was like, let's ditch the hood and the doors, and that would be an easy, cheap design element that we could switch out. But then how else would we rough up that car and make it look like it's from a Western? I'll let you talk about the chop shop for a minute.
Basically that comes down to, taking that, we had considered that, we are considering adding like of course being able to purchase accessories with these vehicles, where we're expanding the market not just on with the vehicles, but being able to customize it. A big part of these vehicles are that they are in fact customizable, so a lot of the material would be easy to paint. So I think that's one of the easiest way you go about adding anything. Changing the theme of anything would be the initial paint job. But we want to also offer like you can upgrade the rims to the vehicles. Like Kelly's saying, maybe you take the hood off and you put a different hood on that has spikes on it. We're
Spikes on everything. Spikes, chains, bars on windows, like extra unnecessarily.
It's a metal band after all.
Yeah,
it's
like unnecessary. Like, we're talking heavy metal in the 80s. Like, there's going to be like unnecessary like venting systems and like
bullet belts.
Like for some reason everything's just like belching exhaust fumes. Like, it's like burning diesel, it's like it's like you'll see like an engine just like poking out of like everything's going to look just like, Mad Max, Fury Road, like, and
I think that's a perfect segue into our like third vehicle, because we have 2 lined up already, of course, the Bandito, and we can definitely stylize it to make it fit, that Western theme. I'm thinking when we get these figures going, it's not tough to create something nowadays. So with the abilities and the equipment that we have here, we will be able to put out prototypes of our own and within a matter of months. Speaking of prototypes, the prototype to the Bandito has been fully funded, so we're going into
Well, let's
prototype
hold
with
off on
that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm gonna
hold off on
yeah.
that. Anyways, but go ahead, jump in. This is not. Let's be like, yeah, go. This is not. Let's be like, yeah, go.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of opportunity to explore George's characters and ideas through the chop shop. So, we'll want to take the banditos and stuff we've already done, and then maybe add some extra tooling in to soup up the car and make it look more like it's from, the Old West, steampunkish.
What if, like, okay, all right. What if we have like a hennepin crawler with like a Gatling gun on it? So you have like somebody who's driving the thing like, oh, and then you have somebody on top who's like, like, so you have like that kind of like physicality to a lot of the stuff, and then like also you have like this like huge blacked out rape van just like swoop up, and like the people are like, get him, motherfucker, and like, but inside it's like there's like a squad of like the weird dudes with like chainsaws, and they're like just ready to go. They just come pouring out of the thing. Now you got like 8 chainsaw dudes running at you. And like another thing could be like, you have like some big ass fucking car, and it's just got like an anchor on the end of like a chain, and so it just like, it's like it drives in front of like, this other car. The anchor just like crosses like this car to just like the 360 spin out, like some vanishing.
Yeah,
like an LA
I mean,
cutoff movie.
Oh yeah, but like with the anchor and then just. But yeah, like like I would buy all of these toys and just like play with them with my kids. I would like, just do. I would film that stuff. It would be ridiculous, just.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the beauty of the chop shop and what Eddie's trying to do with it, with this kind of themeless style. First of all, I haven't seen a lot of Western characters out there in the 112 world with, photography and everything they're doing with the pictures. So it's like, I feel like this is such a great setting to provide a different visual for 112 scale toy photography. I mean, you've got your superheroes, you've got your Punisher style stuff and the gritty street stuff, but I've never seen the dusty Western stuff. So it'd be interesting. Also, George and Eddie has brought this up, like doing little dioramas and stuff. They're already doing this kind of stuff in the superhero stuff, but how cool would it be to have like, an old shack with a tumbleweed and a Cervantes or a horse or something
for the whole thing. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And then with you guys creating the music and, us collabing on the comic book, it's like, I just feel like it builds this richness to the toys that we're going to be doing too. And then all the stuff we're doing on our end, hopefully puts a richness into the comic book and stuff as well, being able to have the toys there and then to have the music and the ambiance going with it. Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about that, George, a little bit about how you're just we're trying to create this multimedia experience.
Yeah, like the idea would be like, you're listening to, the music on whatever streaming, vinyl, whatever, format. And then you get to like read this comic, and then when you get to the end of the comic, like I think we should have our own like merch for the whole thing. We've got like, boom, you get to the end of it, and that was like what was so cool about like, comic book merchandise back in the day when I was growing up, is like, you read a Spider-Man comic, you get to the end of the Spider-Man comic, and it's like, oh shit, I can buy the Spider-Man toys. Like, oh, there's Venom and Carnage, and you get the whole like thing, and you get amped on that aspect of it. Like, I've been to Kevin Smith's shop in Red Bank, New Jersey, like a whole bunch of times, and just like all that crazy fucking like people spent, like I know people who spend thousands of dollars on these like deluxe toys. You know, I mean, like I even know people who build the Gundam, like the 5 foot tall Gundam toys, and it's like, you know, like there's such a like niche market for this stuff. But I think like, you know, something I love about League of, exactly something I love about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is it has that like, and like Watchmen too, is like it has that like mixed kind of like multimedia aspect. So you get to the end of like a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen book, and it's like a bunch of ads, like in the period piece of the time, with like ads for like a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen action figure, and like here's the board game, you know, and just like all this.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun to do.
Like that, just it's like a really kind of like organic marketing strategy too, because it's like boom, you know, it's like the one-stop shop. You know, you get the Doc Holyday Inc. comics. You get the 112 Chop Stop toy, you know, that you just read the whole comic book about. Boom, end of issue 3, like a page spread just for the big fucking car, like from that issue, you know, and it's like that's like, oh fuck, you know, like I just read this whole thing, and then now there's like this like crazy like monster truck with Gatling guns on it and like an anchor, and it's like I'm buying that. Like I just read 24 pages of why I want that car in my life, and now we've got a scale model of it.
I think what's interesting too is you know, for our community that's taking pictures of their toys and stuff, you know, there's these guys are so creative with camera angles and shots and moving pictures. There's also music in the background. So to be able to introduce a Western toy to these guys and then have the soundtrack that goes that they can also put in their videos and photography along with the character to further build that world. I think
us on Instagram.
It's really
cool with those
and
videos.
Like that's part of the beauty.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that it's not a like if you were to use like a traditional movie score, for example, it's like, well, you got the movie, right, and then you have the composer, and then you have like the producer, and you have the editor. But this world is kind of like it's all kind of built at the same time. It's not there. It doesn't, at least to me, feel like it's like separate. It's all tied together. And as long as we're making the music, there will always be of like an expansion of the world, like until we die.
Yeah. and it seems too, Jake, that it's mixable and matchable. Like the songs can go with any issue.
Yeah, like imagine if you were trying to watch like Interstellar, and you could be like, I want to listen to this Hans Zimmer song over this scene, you know, and I want to change up.
Yeah, more interactive is what you're saying.
Exactly.
And that's kind of the way we kind of want to go, is like with more kind of collaborations, more kind of like you know, bringing more creators to the scene. You know, I mean, like if like there are people out there who like the comic book and they want to buy the toys and like, you know, film stuff with those and like tag us and, you know, put that stuff on their channels and stuff, by all means, like we would love to see that. Like that'd be incredible to like kind of get that kind of feedback from, you know, our audience.
Well, I think that's kind of a perfect segue to kind of wrap up our interview with you guys. George, why don't you tell people where they can find you? Where's your website? How can they find the website and interact with Sundown and Sundown Media Group? And then we'll want a plug from Jake's stuff as well.
So this is what we're doing right now. We got part of it here. We got Sundown Studios. We got everything right here, and yeah, pretty much. If you keep scrolling, you can see kind of more of our, you know, what we're doing here, what we're about, etc., etc. But yeah, the link is www.sundown with an E at the end studios.com. And you can listen to music, buy merch, you know, if you want to book some studio time. Yeah, well, we got the place set up in North Hollywood right now, but we we have access to a lot of other studios and places where we've worked before. We did a lot of work with Manny Nieto over the past few years. And we also, this summer, recorded at Prairie Sun Recordings in Cohatchee or
Kodahai.
Kodatai.
Kotati. However you pronounce it.
Yeah.
It's up in like Petaluma area.
I can see where you get that mixed up with Tehachapi, George, which is where I'm from too. Yeah.
We can track bands here. We can do voiceover here. We can do mixing here. It's just a good overall.
Oh, the Ring of Doom, yes. So that we'll have that.
Inquire for details.
Inquire.
We can't say it over the airwaves.
Well, and I think one thing that's interesting to me about you guys, I was in a death metal band and in that world for years and years, and we've been to lots of studios, and it's like, they don't have nice equipment. It's just garbage. So can you talk about like your gear a little bit, George? Because I think your gear is like premium. Who wouldn't want to record with like a badass telly and stuff like that,
Yeah. Well, no, let's not. Everything's very.
Right now.
Yeah, basically, what we've been doing over here is we have two different drum kits right now. We have one Tama SLP, which is like a stainless steel kit. It's just like you got a really nice like metal
premium
tone to
equipment,
it, probably because it's stainless steel. But we also have a maple kit, which is like a Bonham style Ludwig. We were here.
See some mesas over there.
Oh yeah, we got the mesas over
Lots
there.
of mesas. Yeah,
love the Mesa. I had the triple wreck, Jake.
Yeah, triple wreck.
Love
awesome.
We're on the dual wreck over here. We got
one less wreck.
Nice.
It's it actually previously belonged to somebody who used to play with the Eagles, and they had just they had this thing made up especially for them, and it sounds crazy. It's got this great reverb tank, so it's on like I think almost all of our recordings somewhere. And then we the part of the reason why we got this whole studio is just for the Rig of Doom, like my bass rig. It was like just killing like my amps. It was like turning off like the breakers of buildings and stuff. It was just like it's like 50 amps worth of amps. So just like it'll just like it just eats energy, So we needed a place that had more outlets and more power to supply to the amps to get that tone. I would play it for you right now, but honestly, just like it won't sound right through the laptop speakers.
And where can people find you on Instagram?
Sun.down with an E at the end on IG.
Awesome. And then Jake, can you give yourself a little plug real quick for your guys'
Absolutely.
roadie thing?
I mean, we do mobile instrument repairs, primarily string instruments and fretted string instruments, even a bit of orchestral here and there. But our business is called Roadie Repair with a Y, ROADY Repair. We haven't.
And we'll just say that's in the Los Angeles, Hollywood area.
We have some clients in OC, Inland Empire, because I travel a bit around Southern California a lot, for family and like other work stuff. So we can work out, deals with people who are from far away.
Okay.
We're working on the website. We're a pretty relatively
new
business, but you could find us on Instagram. If you just look up Roadie with a Y Repair, we have a bunch of videos on some jobs that we did. We're working on kind of building up a website with kind of like a drop inquiry form. But right now you can feel free to DM us on Instagram for, setting up appointments or getting quotes and things like that. But
perfect.
The cool thing about us is that, we can come to you. You don't have to go to a guitar center and leave your guitar there for 2 weeks. We can come straight to your door or your studio, or if you want to drop it off to us, we give the power to the consumer in that. So, yeah.
Awesome. And we'll put all your guys' links in the post and in our bio and stuff for people to see it and find all that.
Oh, they did.
Well, guys,
one more plug for Rhodey is they did our entire studio, every guitar in here.
We set up
Jake
everything.
has set up.
So,
we got some custom vintage stuff that they were able to fix from the 70s, from the 60s.
Yeah, we restored a couple of music masters.
Wow.
Vintage Coronado. So if you're going to use the studio and rent any of the instruments, they're already going to be set up, ready to go, troubleshooted before. So like, I think the major selling point for the studio is the fact that we kind of are the middle product in between like your low grade, cheap, DIY studio and your high end, the Village or the East West or something like that. They're going to have all the same gear that we have. But because of the space we're in, we can afford to charge less than they do. So pretty much it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we just want to thank you guys, Jake and George of Sundown and Sundown Media Group, so much for coming on the podcast and talking about the multiple levels of collaboration we're going to do. So thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate having you here. And like I said, we'll put all the links in the bios so that our guys can find you. And I'm sure we'll have you back on the podcast again.
We'll see you guys soon.
Memorial Day.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
I just want to say thanks again to having Sundown come out and visit with us on this podcast, tell you guys about the comic book and their music a little bit. And then we've got some updates on the 112 muscle car that I'm going to let Eddie talk about. Some really exciting news. So Eddie, I'm going to let you close out the show talking about the updates with the Bandito.
Yeah, cool. So we've been funded. We finally made it to that, sorry. we finally made it to that point where we needed to achieve our prototype. So we talked to our manufacturer. I was actually getting ready to read some emails, but we've reached out. They're ready to roll. We're updating all the models, the production schedule. We're willing to we're going to share that with you guys too, just to keep it all transparent. As soon as we get it back from him, we'll update you guys with the process and everything. And then we'll let you know the next steps. And I think that sums it up, man. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I don't know if Kelly has any closing words to say, but we appreciate the support. And go ahead, Kelly.
Like and subscribe, guys. I can't believe I'm the person that has to say that now, but like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Oddfrog Chop Shop podcast. This episode is brought to you by MLCVoice.com and OddFrogEntertainment.com. Theme music is Burlesque Heartache by RKVC. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Until next time, keep creating and keep playing.